This review for the Godox BLP is as much for stills photography as it is for video. This projection attachment is designed to work with Bowens mount LEDs, and it is a very useful bit of kit if you need some creative lighting. It is lightweight. I can put a very small 60-watt source behind it and I can get some really good results. You get pretty much everything you need in the kit so long as you have your own light source to plug into it. You get a range of gobos, you get the little flags that are on the side so that you can constrain and trim in the projection. Even when it's mounted on one point on your tripod, you can still rotate the whole thing through 360 degrees. My wife is a photographer. She shoots a lot of food and leisure, and she often wants a little bit of an accent light. She wants something that'll give some character to a scene. And one of the things we like doing is creating a bit of a sunset vibe at the end of the day. So you're cooking in the kitchen and you're making things, but it's sunset. But where we live, we don't get sunset. Sunset happens behind other buildings. So for us, in order for us to have a bit of sunset, we need to recreate that in the studio. And we were looking for a really simple way to do that. We didn't want great big heavy gear and something that was cumbersome and hard to set up. We wanted the simplest setup possible. We wanted it to be convenient so that we don't have that friction. We didn't want to hurdle in the way whenever we wanted to be a little bit creative. In the past, we've done things like using a Fresnel to illuminate a beam of light into a scene and then just putting a pot plant in front or something just to give it a little bit of model pattern. But there's a better way to do this. We did a bit of research. We looked around the market and the Godox BLP looked about the size and weight that we wanted to work with. We didn't want anything too heavy. And you have to keep in mind these projector attachments, they are designed to sit in front of whatever light you're using. And in our case, we're using like a 200-watt continuous LED. So this starts to look like a lot of weight loaded in front of that light, and that can make it difficult to set up. The Godox BPL projector attachment came in at a very reasonable price, but the thing that really made it better for us was that there's a mounting point right in the center of the unit, and that means you can attach it to a tripod, and now you've got a very flexible setup where instead of putting a great big heavy light behind it, you can put something small and lightweight. These things use a Canon EF mount. This one comes with an 85mm lens. You see at the rear you've got a Bowens mount designed for a nice big light like our key light. But I'm doing something a little bit different. I've just got this little tiny 60-watt Vigevin. That's going to be my accent light. That's going to be our sunlight today. By putting the tripod plate on there, I lock that on. And there you go. Now we have a very compact USB powered light that we can dial into a nice warm temperature and we can get something that looks like sunlight. For me, the beauty of this particular model is just that it is lightweight. I can put a very small 60-watt source behind it and I can get some really good results. It depends what you want to do with it. It could be that 60 watt is not going to be enough for you, that you need some more juice. This thing did get pretty hot after an hour of being turned on with my 60 watt up to full speed. So if you're running this at 200 watt or 300 watt, you can expect that heat dissipation to be a little bit more intense. We were happy with 60 watt. We were happy with the amount of light we were getting through on the 85mm. We did try it with some of our other older Canon EF lenses, and some of our EF lenses don't actually open wide. We can't set the f-stop without it being attached to a camera. If you attach power to a lens and it goes out wide open, then that's going to be the optimum situation. You're letting through the most light. But one of our tests we did, we put on one of my older Canon 50mm lenses and it was still at like f22 or whatever, the minimum aperture, whatever the minimum aperture was on that particular lens, the light coming through was very dark. So yes, you can put on some EF lenses. It's going to work better if you can control the aperture on it or if it's already wide open. 85mm was what came in our kit. Probably would have preferred 65mm. That would have been a little bit wider and we wouldn't have had to step back so much to use it. And actually we will get a second lens. We're going to go out and buy the 48mm. I think that's going to be better for the size of space that we have and working in a little tighter. But this thing worked really well. This thing delivered exactly what we needed. It's going to be really easy for Shelley to use. It's not going to be too cumbersome. And because of that mount point that's on the underside of the unit, we can center the weight. So now we don't have to haul out the Fresnel, and we don't have to set up a whole bunch of counterweights and just all the rigmarole of the really heavy gear that we've used in the past to create our sunset effects. This is what's doing the work. This is the actual gobo. You can put different ones in there. It comes with a range of different little patterns, and we want the window light. What we're going to try out today. Little holder just goes in there, and now we have a scene in the background. That gives you an idea as to the coverage of the 85mm. Definitely suggests something wider like a 65 or a 48. They might be better options in limited space. Very satisfying click at each of the 45 degrees. You can flag them out or flag them in as you wish from each side, like that. By adjusting the focus on the lens, we can change how harsh and how obvious or how soft and gentle. The kit we bought did come with a few gobos to select from. The one that we like the best is just the one that looks like the French windows. You can see that I've got them up the back there now. We used them during the kitchen shoot that you've got some footage of in this particular video. But there's a few interesting patterns in there, and there's certainly enough to get started. And for around about $500 Australian, this is pretty good value. You get pretty much everything you need in the kit so long as you have your own light source to plug into it. You get a range of gobos, you get the little flags that are on the side so that you can constrain and trim in the projection, and the unit itself rotates around. So even when it's mounted on one point on your tripod, you can still rotate the whole thing through 360 degrees. It clicks in nicely at every 90 degrees. It's actually really well designed. The heat dissipation seems to work really well, and for us, this was just a really good product that gave us exactly what we needed. There are times when you want this sort of creative effect to be fairly subtle, and there are times when you want it to be fairly intense. And you can simply dial in and out the focus with this system as well. And my advice is start off by having the light shining towards the camera. Have it as incident light. You want that contrast coming at you. The other thing we did is we made sure we had a nice darkened room. We're only using a 60 watt light on the gobo, so we weren't going to be able to outcompete sunlight coming through the window. I don't think this needs to be a very long review. This product works exactly as it says on the box. This is a good option if you want something light to work with and don't want anything too big and too heavy. I can recommend using it with one of the smaller 60 watt lights. That's a good combo. If you found this useful, please hit the like button and feel free to subscribe to my channel, and we'd love to see you again sometime soon.